Today is a classic Batman storyline known as Batman Hush. To this day, the original storyline is still revered as one of the best Batman storylines. And yes, there was a movie about it, and yes, they butchered it. But this is the Comicstorian channel where I create audio dramas of your favorite comic books. If you like this type of content, consider giving a like and subscribe, and joining us at our main channel, Comicstorian Main.
Batman wasn't always Batman. He started his life as a young boy named Bruce Wayne. He had a wonderful childhood until the day that he lost his parents in a mugging down Crime Alley. That day, he made it his life's goal to prevent any more death, by any means that he could. The family butler Alfred tried his best to raise Bruce like he was his own son, but eventually, Bruce vanished, and he trained with the greatest minds in criminology, martial arts, and the craft of detecting, only to return and try his best to clear out all crime in Gotham. But he quickly discovered that he needed to strike fear into the hearts of the villains, so he therefore set off as Batman. While this did aid him in preventing much of the crime in Gotham now, and he did have Alfred and his wards, he was lacking in one area of his life due to his choice profession. He was lacking in love. Our tale begins with Batman swinging onto the deck of a tanker. There's a young boy being held captive there, and he has 2 minutes to get in and get him out before the kidnapper returns and finds him. They've demanded $1 million in cash, but Batman is here to ensure that they don't get it. The power is quickly cut to the tanker due to the FBI trying to make their own move, but Batman cuts through the guards and finds the location of the young boy. He blows out the door to the boy's cell, and the little one looks up at him. "You're Batman!" "Yes," he tells him as he grabs him and they launch out of the holding cell. Everything is going according to plan, except that once Batman gets back to the deck of the ship, the kidnapper has caught up. Killer Croc comes running and swiping at Batman, holding the briefcase that contains the ransom. "You shouldn't have come here! This doesn't involve you!" But Batman dodges and moves faster than Croc. While he has strength and sheer power, Batman has his agility. "I was off by 11 seconds, Batman thinks to himself as he ducks underneath Croc, coming in for a bite, and then he headbutts him before kicking him back. While the two of them are facing off, a grappling hook comes in out of nowhere and grabs the briefcase that contains the money. Batman quickly grabs a nearby chain from the boat. He wraps it around Croc's mouth and then he strings him up just before the FBI arrive. It's then that he notices the money is missing. So using his infrared goggles, he looks around and sees Catwoman fleeing the scene. Another bat rope goes off and he begins to chase Catwoman, shouting, "Stop!" But this is a game that they've played many times before, and she looks back at him. "What took you so long?" This isn't like her, he thinks. She steals jewels, museum pieces, and things from private homes, but stealing someone else's take? That's not her style. Just like kidnapping isn't Croc's style. Someone else is behind all of this. They race through the city, leaping over alleyways and streets filled with traffic, but she's always one step ahead of him. "Like the view? It's the only thing that you're gonna catch tonight," she yells back, enjoying their little game. But Batman replies with, "Don't be so sure," just as someone cuts the bat rope. He begins to fall into the alleyway beneath them, and once Catwoman realizes that he isn't chasing her anymore, she looks back asking, "Batman?" But he's busy because there's nothing to grab onto, nothing to stop his fall, and no way to prevent what's about to happen. He falls headfirst into Crime Alley. Oracle comes over the comms quickly. "Batman, are you okay?" But he doesn't reply. She realizes that this is not good, as she can see heat signatures moving towards him, so she puts out an all-points bulletin to the friends of the Bat family. And the woman that answers is the Huntress. She comes racing in on her motorcycle and she kicks the teeth out of the thugs that are there. She then uses her bow staff and slick moves, as she quickly dispatches every random thug that tries to approach Batman. She then calls into Oracle. "I'm done, everyone's down." So Oracle moves the Batmobile in, and Huntress loads him up as Oracle closes the doors and tells Huntress, "I'm sure he'll want to thank you himself." But Huntress loads up onto her bike and tells Oracle, "This is me holding my breath." High above everything, a man in a trench coat and bandaged face watches over the whole event. Meanwhile, Catwoman makes her way to Poison Ivy's garden high atop of one of Gotham's rooftops. She slowly walks in and hands her the money. That's it. Not a man or a woman can resist Poison Ivy. Ivy says with a smile as she looks back at Catwoman. She then brings the money to her mysterious benefactor. Batman is brought back to the Batcave where Alfred realizes Batman has a fractured skull. Somehow, Bruce manages to tap his finger in Morse code, and he tells Alfred the name, Thomas Elliot. The Bat family quickly stages a car crash, and Bruce is admitted to the local hospital where the world-famous surgeon Thomas Elliot arrives to perform brain surgery on our fallen knight. But the question is, who is Thomas Elliot? Well, Bruce had a life before his parents died, and one of his friends, well, really his only friend, was Thomas Elliot. He was a young boy from the Elliot family, and Bruce and him would spend hours playing games and messing with each other. Until one night, Thomas's parents were in a car crash, and it was up to Bruce's father to save them. Bruce swore to Thomas that his father was the best, and he could save both of Thomas's parents. But when he came back, he told them that he was only able to save Thomas's mother. He was furious with Bruce for lying to him, and he punched him across the jaw. Back in the modern day, Bruce recovers from his head injury, and within days of being released from the hospital, he's back on the trail of whatever was going on that night. His first stop is to go by Killer Croc's cell and see if he can get any information out of whoever hired him. But Croc says nothing, and instead, he breaks the glass around his cell. He pushes Batman aside and he makes his way to the sewer exit, yelling, "I'm gonna get out of here and get my money!" Luckily, when they brought him in, Batman had a homing device placed into his spine. So he takes off with the Batmobile to catch him, asking Oracle where the signal is moving to. But before Batman can converge on Croc's signal, someone shoots out the front left Bat tire. The Batmobile spins out of control and flips over a building, landing into an alleyway. He quickly knocks out the glass and looks around. This shouldn't have happened, he thinks to himself. Those tires are reinforced Kevlar and they're filled with petroleum jelly. You would have to know exactly where to blow one out to do so. Oracle begins to ask him if he's okay, but he tells her, whatever you do, don't lose Croc's signal. Croc, meanwhile, is scaling the building where Ivy's garden is located, and at the top he finds Catwoman sneaking around looking for something. Hello, kitty. He steps in with the rain pouring around him. I want my money! And then he swipes at Catwoman, forcing her to fall back. It was Poison Ivy, Catwoman tries to tell him. Wrong answer. Poison Ivy contacted me in Arkham to tell me that you had it, and you'd be here tonight. He then grabs Catwoman, lifting her off the ground and licking the side of her head. Catwoman tries to defend herself. We've been set up. Ivy was supposed to meet me here, and she used me to get that money. She then reels back, trying to get out of the range of Croc's mouth, and screams, I don't have the money! So he tells her that there's no reason not to kill you. But Batman's hurt enough as he throws a bat rope around Croc's mouth again, and then he launches a grappling hook into the nearby wall, throwing Croc out of the building. The only way out of this, Croc, is to talk to me. Someone is playing all of us. You, me, Catwoman, and maybe even Ivy. You have to trust me, Croc. So Croc looks up at him. Look at me! Look at what I've become! The money was to fix me! But before Batman can get any more information out of him, the FBI arrives shooting at both Batman and Croc. Batman says under his breath, idiots, and he takes cover, but Croc jumps up with their helicopter, only to find himself trapped in a net. As they leave with Croc, Batman stares into the night wondering, who is behind all of this? Very few people have the power and knowledge to manipulate Croc, Ivy, and Catwoman. And while he's standing there thinking, the man in the trench coat and bandaged face is watching the whole thing from a distance. 6 nights pass and Batman can't find any trace of Ivy, nor can he find anything on Croc. He thinks to himself that he will find it eventually. But Catwoman then arrives and tells Batman, I found Ivy, she's in Metropolis, and I want to go there with you. He stands there silently. So she leans in, and she places her hands on his chest. Listen, you saved me. You have more than once throughout the years, and I don't think I've ever properly thanked you. But Batman stands his ground. Don't. So she leans in for the kiss. Aren't you curious at all? Batman grabs her by the shoulders and holds her close, as they kiss by the moonlight. At long last, Batman feels the love that he's been missing in his life, and it's with the woman that he was probably always meant to be with. Catwoman pulls back, preparing to leave. Play your cards right and there will be more of that. But Batman grabs her shoulder. Hey now, I'm not one of your toy wonders. But he instead hands her a ring. Is this a promise ring or something? Press it when you find Ivy if you find her before me. I'll see you in Metropolis. The next day, Bruce Wayne flies into Metropolis. There isn't much use for Batman in that city, but Bruce Wayne owns the Daily Planet. Why can't he come by for a visit? At the airport, Thomas Elliot sees his old friend and he calls out to him, Bruce! And they share a car together while Thomas asks Bruce how he's holding up from the surgery. Bruce thanks him and tells him how grateful he really is for saving him. But Thomas tells him that he doesn't care about that. He wants to make sure that Bruce is taking care of himself. You aren't Superman, you know. He then gets off at the Daily Planet to say hello to his favorite reporter, Lois Lane, before heading off to see the current CEO of LexCorp, Talia al Ghul. He asks her to find him whoever is dealing with a chemical known as ethylene, and she agrees, but she also comments on how different he seems, and she isn't sure she likes it. But their meeting is cut short by Catwoman buzzing his bat belt. She's found Ivy. Catwoman called Batman to the top of a moving train where she comments on the Chanel 5 odor that Batman has on him. I wanted you to know why I wanted to see Poison Ivy before you. She took control of my mind and made me do things that I may have been prone to, but it wasn't my decision to do those things for her. She violated me, and no one treats me like that, understood? Batman agrees with his silence because he doesn't know what to say or do. He kissed her. He kissed Catwoman. At her greenhouse, Catwoman tries to pretend that she's under Ivy's spell still, but Ivy doesn't fall for it, and they begin to fight it out. Catwoman gains the upper hand only to have Ivy's vines wrap around her throat and begin to strangle her. Batman decides to step in at that moment with a batarang, setting Catwoman free, and Ivy sees him. You brought your champion, I see. Well, so did I. The entire building begins to lift off the ground, and just before the entire thing is thrown into the harbor, Batman sees him. No, not here, not now, not him! As Batman runs over to check on Catwoman, Superman is floating overhead. What hit us, Catwoman asks, and Batman replies with, he did. Tell me you have a plan, she asks, worried. I know him, I do. I know what his next move will be, Batman thinks to himself, but he doesn't know what mine is. So Batman grabs Catwoman and leaps into the harbor as Superman fires his heat vision, destroying everything around the area. Batman throws a mouthpiece onto both Catwoman and himself, but he sees her struggling. Cats and water don't mix, but she'll have to trust him. They make their way to the lead-lined sewers of Metropolis that LexCorp had installed, and they begin to run down them. We can't outrun him. He's faster than Catwoman says as they push themselves. But they aren't running. Batman stops right where he wants to, and he pulls out the kryptonite ring, and then he turns to Catwoman. You know your part. Grab any 3 of them. It'll be the gal, Catwoman tells him. I know his type, and it'll get the best reaction. She then jumps on him and kisses him. Why did you? Because later tonight, you might not be able to do that. And on that note, she turns to run as they hear somebody punching down the walls. That's my cue, Catwoman yells as she runs away. Crash! The wall behind Batman comes down as Superman has arrived. In response to his arrival, Batman uses everything he has to haymaker Superman with the ring. He then continues to lay it on thick. Over and over, he punches Superman in the head. Listen to me, I've opened the gas main, so if you create a spark with your heat vision, you'll destroy the entire block, and you know what building we're under. Then, before Superman can respond, Batman hits his hypersonics, forcing Superman back. And then Superman responds by freezing the gadget, and Batman blinds him with a flash grenade. He then launches a grappling hook at Superman. It's all about timing, he thinks to himself, and that's not easy with a man faster than a speeding, Clark, about that gas main, I lied. And Batman leaps out of the hole that Superman made, allowing him to punch the voltage box that Batman was blocking. As Batman gets his bearings on the street, Superman breaks through the ground. You hurt me. This ends now. And with that, Superman grabs a car. Batman stops him. Look up. You can save her or you can fight me. It's your choice, not Poison Ivy's. So Superman looks up to see the Daily Planet in front of him, and Catwoman holding Lois Lane over the ledge. Then, Catwoman drops her. She screams and Superman is instantly back to his former self. He rockets in to catch her as he always does. With the whole ordeal behind them, Batman and Superman head to the rooftop of the Daily Planet for a talk. Ivy had help. I don't know who gave her the green K lipstick so that she could control you, but she didn't make that. We need to find her, Batman tells Supes, and Supes tells him, I don't think that either of us can find her in time, but I do know someone who can, and I need a new uniform for my fortress anyway. So they get the one superhero that Poison Ivy wasn't expecting, and they use Crypto, the superdog, to track her down. Catwoman ends up knocking out Poison Ivy, and Superman looks to her. Was that really necessary? But both Catwoman and Batman tell him, yes. Catwoman gets to watch the dog while Batman and Superman have a chat. Superman tells Batman that he made the right choice by giving him the ring, because he's always the detective, and you're ever the Boy Scout. They shake hands and they part ways, but during this entire little adventure in Metropolis, one individual with a trench coat and a bandaged face has been watching. Batman returned to Gotham, where he decided to take a night off from the whole investigation to go to the opera, with his friend Thomas Elliot, Leslie Tompkins, and Selina Kyle. While Bruce Wayne may know that Selina is actually Catwoman, she doesn't know that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and they begin to enjoy a nice relaxing night as friends. That is, until the clown on stage begins to bend over, tearing open her costume and laughing. "Opera schmopera!" Harley Quinn shouts as she stands there and the quartet puts on masks as Harley Quinn's gang. She begins to jump around the opera using spring boots while her gang is robbing the rich and the famous, until she sees Bruce Wayne. She jumps up there onto the balcony and she looks at him. "Ain't you zillionaire, Bruce Wayne?" And then she glances over at Selina. "Hey, you look awfully familiar, sister. Have you ever spent time in Arkham?" "No," Selina tells her coldly. Harley shrugs it off and looks at Thomas Elliot. Then she holds her gun to Tommy's face and takes the necklace from around his neck. Bruce looks and remembers that that is the necklace that Tommy's mother used to wear, and it's the last thing that Tommy owns that was hers. Harley jumps back using her spring boots, and then she begins to shoot wildly into the audience. Both Selina and Leslie take cover, and Selina looks around. "Bruce!" Only to realize that billionaire Bruce Wayne has fled in fear. "Men," she says to herself as she realizes that she needs to save Leslie herself. Meanwhile, on stage, Batman has mysteriously appeared. He makes quick work of Harley's goons, and then he begins to make his move on her herself. And as he goes in to apprehend her, she drops a sandbag on his head, knocking the wind out of him as he was still recovering from his head injury in our last adventure. Harley presses her gun against Batman's head. "Ivy and I had a sweet thing going before this whole thing got started. Maybe I should just go off book and blow your brains out and end it right now." But before she can shoot Batman, Catwoman leaps in to save him. Badly conceived, badly acted, badly staged. The audience wants their money back. And as Harley falls over, she just says, "Everybody's a critic." Catwoman begins to wail on Harley, so Harley uses her spring boots to make a fast getaway with Catwoman chasing her. The stage begins to fall apart due to all of the fighting, and Catwoman begins to fall to her death because she doesn't have spring boots to get away. But instead of chasing Harley, Batman stops and catches Catwoman. The audience goes wild! This is the most amazing show that they've ever seen! And then Catwoman looks up at her White Knight. "Don't you ever save me over going for that villain again. I'm not some kid that you took in." And then she passes out before she can finish. Harley begins to run behind the stage looking for the exit, but Thomas Elliot is standing there waiting for her. "Give me back what you stole," he shouts at her, and she kicks him in the stomach and keeps on running, with him getting up to chase her as fast as he can. Batman kicks out the back exit and he finds himself in an alley with rain pouring around him. And as he begins to chase Harley, he hears a gunshot go off. He turns around and he sees Thomas Elliot shot through the chest and the Joker standing there laughing. "Now that's how you make an entrance," he tells Batman. Batman doesn't care anymore as he throws the Joker into a wall and he begins to punch him over and over. This is the Joker! He shot Barbara Gordon. He shot Jim Gordon's wife. He killed Jason Todd! And now he's killed Thomas Elliot, one of Bruce Wayne's only friends. Batman just doesn't care anymore. This ends now! And he continues to beat on the Joker over and over, and the Joker tries his best to get it out through all the blood. "Stop! It wasn't me! I know it looks bad, but it wasn't me, Bats!" But Batman doesn't believe him. He begins to knock the Joker's teeth out, and he puts him down to the ground, and then he begins to strangle him. Even Harley can't save him as Batman just throws her aside. He's done with this! So Catwoman tries to stop him. She takes her whip and she throws it around Batman's neck. "I don't want to fight you, but I will keep you from doing something that you regret." But once again, Batman just yanks on the whip, pulling her towards him, and he knocks her out. Then he pauses from strangling the Joker long enough to pick her up and gently put her down in the back of the alley. He then jumps on the Joker to finish off what he was doing as the Joker yells, "Help! Wild Man! Madman! Batty Man!" No one can stop Batman. He will end this. At least until Gordon shoots the ear off of his cowl. "Stand up and put your hands in the air," he shouts at Batman. But Batman ignores him, and he continues. "Think about what you're doing, Batman. You don't want to go down this path." And Batman keeps strangling the Joker. My God, you have thought this through. "Batman, I can only appeal to you through our friendship. I wouldn't let you do this when he shot my daughter or he killed my wife. I don't know how I can stop you, but I won't let you throw your life away." And finally, Batman stops. and he turns to Gordon. Jim. Gordon tells him that if he goes through with this, he'll be no different than the Joker himself, and he will bring the full force of the police down on Batman and have him arrested. Batman looks down at his bloodied gloves, while the Joker struggles to say one more time, I'm innocent! As Gordon walks Batman out of the alley as friends, up above them is a man with a bandaged face looking down. He sees what's going on. He sees it all. He then flips a coin, and on one side we can see a scratched up surface as he says to himself, he is innocent. Don't you get the joke? After another funeral in his life, one of far too many, Batman goes back to the Batcave where he begins to try and put together this whole thing. The Joker was holding a smoking gun, and Tommy's body was just lying there. He saw what he was supposed to see. He bounces a few ideas off of Nightwing and he asks him for his opinion on Catwoman, when Oracle phones in that the Riddler has hijacked an armored car. Since the whole Riddler thing doesn't appear to be attached to whatever else is going on, Nightwing and Batman take this time to discuss what's going on with him and Catwoman. And after a long talk, Nightwing tells Batman, look, as Bruce or Batman, all of your relationships have fallen apart because you refuse to tell the woman you're with the truth. Tell her, Bruce. You don't want to screw this one up. Batman and Nightwing stop the Riddler and they take back the money. But something is odd. Whoever's been manipulating the villains of Gotham has apparently overlooked the Riddler. Why? All of the other villains that have been involved were given tasks outside of their normal jobs to do, but the Riddler, he's just robbing a bank. He's always robbed banks. And just as Batman is prepared to write the Riddler off as having just chosen a bad night to commit this crime, he hits his ultraviolet lights and he sees something odd. Ash from the Lazarus Pit is scattered all over the armored truck. Was the Riddler involved and he didn't even know it? Two major things happen next. The bandaged man arrives at Arkham to talk to the Joker, while Batman sets up a meeting with Catwoman. In Arkham, the bandaged man tells Joker that he is free to go on bail. That he in fact handled it for the Joker. But the Joker is skeptical. Call me crazy, but I'm not going anywhere with a bandaged man. Meanwhile, Batman explains to Catwoman that his life has always been ruined because he's had two separate lives, and he's tired of that happening. So the bandaged man begins to remove his bandages, while Batman is removing his cowl. And we discover that this bandaged man is Harvey Dent, and someone has corrected his face for him. He's no longer Two-Face. Meanwhile, Catwoman looks in shock as she realizes Batman is actually Bruce Wayne. Back in the case, Batman decides that he's going to pay Ra's al Ghul a visit to discover why there was Lazarus Pit ash in that armored car. And he kidnaps Talia al Ghul and he leaves her under Catwoman's protection while traveling halfway around the world to battle Ra's and get answers. He learns a few interesting things. Someone has been messing with the Lazarus Pit, and this has infuriated the great Ra's. But he does in fact have no idea who did it. So, as with most of Batman's leads, this has gone nowhere. While he's busy with that, a man breaks into the home of Commissioner Gordon. Jim, being the shrewd cop that he is, pulls his gun out and demands that the person put their hands in the air, which they do. Put the gun down, Jimbo. I just want to talk. Shocked, Jim looks at him. Two-Face? No, it's me, Harvey Dent. We need to help Batman, Jim. I had my licenses reinstated by the state, and the Bats is going to need us. The Joker was innocent, and you know it, Jim. I was the one that called you, and I had you in that alley that night. How can you know that, Jim demands. It's all a part of a game, Jim. Like it or not, we're two pieces in a massive game against the Batman. How much longer do you want to play? Batman and Catwoman are trying to figure out what their next move is to solve this mystery when Tim Drake jumps in to fight against Catwoman. You shouldn't be here, he tells her. You must have seduced him or something. They go back and forth until Batman himself steps in and tells them, enough. You can't trust her, Batman. But Batman takes off his cowl. Bringing her here and telling her my identity was my choice. Tim Drake just looks at him. You told her? Frustrated over all of this, Catwoman walks away and takes one of the Bat bikes and rides off. And then Tim turns to Batman. You think she bought it? There's only one way to find out, Batman tells him, and they follow Catwoman. She rides off angry. This whole thing is a big mess. For a guy that's a loner, Batman sure has a lot of strings. But then something gets her attention. Huntress races up to her on her own motorcycle, talking gibberish. And then she begins to fight with Catwoman. The two of them are going at it, and Catwoman doesn't understand why Huntress is fighting her. But Batman and Robin are looking on. They followed her all the way to this point, and they've been watching the two of them fight it out. "Stay here, Robin, and watch. I need you to see what we can't see." And then he leaps in to separate Huntress and Catwoman. Batman throws Catwoman a vial and says, "Use this on Huntress, it'll put her to sleep." And Catwoman looks up in surprise. "You were following me?" But back up top, Robin is looking down on the entire situation. He's supposed to be looking around to see who's behind all of this. And since he's not paying attention, he gets sucker punched by our bandaged man. Without realizing what's going on, Batman turns to Catwoman. "Be ready to move." And just then, Scarecrow comes riding in on Huntress's motorcycle. Batman sees him, and it all starts to come together. He grabs Scarecrow and he pins him against the wall. "You did the profile work. You're the one that set up the Joker, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, Killer Croc, Catwoman, me, and the Huntress. It's your toxin right now that's affecting her so that she fights against Catwoman." But the Scarecrow looks up at him. "My gas should be affecting you!" But before any more answers can come out of the Scarecrow, a batarang nicks him in the head, knocking him out. Batman turns to see our bandaged man in a trench coat. The same man that's been watching everything that's been going on since the beginning, and is supposedly in charge of all of this. He's standing there holding Tim Drake. "Do you even care about this imposter? This pretender?" Batman stares him down. "Let the boy go. Who are you?" The bandages begin to peel back, and they fall off of his face, revealing Jason Todd, the Robin that Batman lost. He was murdered by the Joker years ago, and Tim Drake is the replacement Robin. It is not, in fact, Harvey Dent like we've been led to believe. Before Jason can do any harm to Tim Drake, Catwoman leaps in, throwing Jason off balance and getting Tim out of there. Batman jumps in and begins to swing at Jason, yelling back at Catwoman, "I told you to stay with Huntress." And Robin looks at her. "Aw, I didn't know you cared." "I don't, but if anything happened to you, he'd be hell to live with," Catwoman tells him. With no one in harm's way, Batman doesn't hold back anymore, and neither does Jason Todd. "You always saw me as second-rate, never as good as your other Robins." And as he takes Batman to the ground because Batman has stopped fighting, he shouts, "How could you let me die? Come on, fight me! You owe me that! Show me some respect, Batman!" You know, you'd be amazed at the number of people that wanted to get involved. So many people wanted revenge against you. But Batman sees an opening, and he stabs Jason in the leg with a batarang, and then he begins to punch him. If you are who you say you are, then you'd know that thinking that this was a game is what got Robin killed. And realizing that this isn't Jason, Batman begins to swing over and over until our imposter flees from the scene. Batman shoots his grappling hook, and he follows with Catwoman trying to follow behind him, but Tim holds her back. He needs to do this. Even if that isn't Jason, Jason's death still haunts him. Why do you think he has a memorial to Jason in the Batcave? On the rooftop of the nearby building, the Jason imposter begins to get the upper hand on Batman. I have to admit, I'm a tad disappointed. You were distracted by Catwoman, and then the death of Thomas Elliot sent you over. You even chased the Joker and Ra's al Ghul, but you never figured out who it was, and it was in front of you the entire time. Batman thinks back and he realizes that the Jason imposter is slightly right. Batman falling into Crime Alley because his grappling hook was cut at the start of our story, and the front left tire of the Batmobile blowing out was the exact same tire that Jason was stealing when they met. It was all designed to make Batman think that this was Jason Todd from the start. But Batman doesn't buy it, and he grabs the imposter. "You are not the Robin who died!" There was one defining fact that proved to Batman that this Robin couldn't be Jason Todd. He never called him Bruce. Then the Jason Todd imposter melts away into a pile of clay. It was Clayface the entire time. Catwoman and Tim arrive on the scene and they inform Batman that the Huntress has left taking the motorcycle, and then they clear up this whole "does Batman trust Catwoman" thing. He explains that he does trust her. She's one of the few individuals that he does, but he needed to find this person. But Batman is still frustrated because if this wasn't orchestrated by Jason Todd, then there is still a mastermind behind all of this, and all of the clues pointed to Jason Todd. So who else could it be? Batman decides to head over to the clock tower because Oracle is sitting in there trying to make sense out of all of this. None of this is making sense. It's all been arranged to mess with Batman's mind. His villains are all acting differently and under someone else's orders. Killer Croc was kidnapping and demanding a ransom. Poison Ivy was using Catwoman, one of her friends, to steal that money. The Joker was set up to look like he had killed somebody. And Harley Quinn, well, she was just being Harley Quinn, but she was with the Joker. Then whoever was behind this was trying to make him think that Jason Todd was revived by the Lazarus Pit and is back to haunt him. And now it would appear that Scarecrow arranged this entire plan. What the heck is going on? But then Oracle asks Batman a rather peculiar question. When you hurt your head, what made you think of Thomas Elliot as your surgeon? Why did you request him? And Batman turns to her. Why? She shows him an electronic relay that was patched into their computers, one that would flash a single image of Thomas Elliot in between their communications, implanting the idea of Thomas Elliot into Batman's mind. And there's only one person that could have rigged that up: Harold. Harold was a mute, hunchback man that Batman gave a job to a long time ago, and he had a remarkable ability with computers. So Batman took him in and allowed him to help with the Bat computers. So Batman has Oracle set up a meeting on the Gotham Bridge on a stormy night, and he approaches it to see Harold there. What did he give you to get you to betray me, Harold? And Harold turns around. Happiness. You could speak! He offered to fix me if I would just put in that relay. He knew who you were behind that mask, and he knew about the cave. Harold, I can forgive you. The desire for happiness is a very powerful one. Just tell me who is behind all of this. But before Harold can reply, 2 bullets go through his throat and his head. Batman turns around to see our bandaged man in the trench coat once again. It wasn't Harvey Dent. It wasn't Jason Todd. Who is this man? Oh, was that a friend of yours, Bruce? And he opens fire on Batman, forcing him to jump onto the support beams of the bridge. He then jumps back down, kicking our masked man. The game ends tonight. And that's when Batman sees it. Thomas Elliot's necklace around the man's neck. As they fight, Batman begins to think to himself, he knows my name. He wears Thomas Elliot's necklace. He mentions things that only Thomas Elliot would know. But Thomas Elliot is dead. Who are you? Batman shouts at him. Don't you think that it's an odd coincidence that we are on this bridge tonight of all nights? Batman thinks back and he remembers. This is the bridge that Thomas Elliot's parents died on. Your father ruined my life, Bruce. He saved my mother. She was supposed to die, allowing me to inherit all of my family's money. Before Batman can even get his footing, though, an explosion goes off behind him, throwing him at Thomas Elliot's mercy. Thomas Elliot holds a gun down to Batman, ready to kill him, ready to end this. He's won, finally. Put your hands in the air and get on your knees, Gordon shouts as he arrives on the scene with his friend, Harvey Dent. Thomas Elliot looks up and he sees Harvey Dent. What are you doing here? You know the arrangement. But Harvey looks at him. Yeah, well, any good lawyer knows that agreements are meant to be broken. And he shoots Thomas Elliot in the chest, throwing him off of the bridge. Batman gets up and he jumps into the river under those bandages. He needs to know the truth. He needs to see it for himself that this is Thomas Elliot. He swims around and he finds nothing, and then he goes back up to the bridge where Harvey Dent and Jim Gordon are. Harvey, explain. I did what I needed to do. Be there for Bats when he needed it most. Thomas Elliot fixed my face in exchange for my help. If you search his grave, I'm sure you'll find nothing more than clay residue. So that was the master plan. This was all Thomas Elliot's scheme to get back at Bruce Wayne for his father allowing Thomas's mother to live. But he still doesn't buy it. So after a few days pass, Batman finally puts together who's actually behind all of this. Batman arrives at Arkham Asylum to accuse the one person smart enough to assemble all of this. Killer Croc, the Joker, Harley Quinn, and Poison Ivy, even getting Superman involved under Poison Ivy's influence, and Thomas Elliot included. The Riddler. He was dying of cancer, which is when he first met Thomas Elliot while getting his treatments in one of the local hospitals. But a Lazarus pit is what they used to cure him, and as they got to know each other, they realized that they had a common enemy. So the Riddler invented the Bandaged Man, the villain that he calls Hush. But the Riddler isn't through. He looks up. Riddle me this. Who is that under Batman's mask? And now, the world is my oyster. Right, Bruce? But Batman just stares him down. What time is it when an elephant sits on a fence? Huh? Time to get a new fence. Everyone knows that one. It's worthless. And that's why I fear nothing from you. You had to tell Elliot, but no one else. Not even Clayface knew my name when he was playing Robin. I know you, Edward Nygma. Riddles are your addiction, and a riddle that everyone knows the answer to is worthless. The Riddler holds his finger up to stop Batman, but he realizes that Batman is right. Besides, if you ever did anything with my identity, I know Roz is very unhappy that someone used his Lazarus pits, and he might have a few words with you if I ever told him who did it. Things are still not complete though, as Batman meets up with Catwoman to discuss their situation. He asks her, What if they were manipulated by the Riddler with everyone else? What if this love is just another one of the Riddler's schemes? But she tells him this isn't. This is real. He turns concerned though. I'm not good at this. Friends, partners, lovers. It all ends in betrayal and death. Tell that to Nightwing, Robin, Oracle. Do I need to go on? But what if something was affecting my mind? Batman says. And Catwoman leans in close. Hush. He grabs her by the hands. Why would you say that? You're hurting me, Bruce, Catwoman says to him. His mind begins to race. Is she a part of this? Can't he take that chance? And she looks at him. Bruce? So it's over. Listen, I don't need to know if this started as a spell or not. Forget about being a detective for once, and remember that we are who we are. That's why this works. Maybe someday you'll come to trust that. And until then, as she leaves, Batman looks down, sad, because he can't trust anyone.
And there you have it, today's full story. I hope you guys enjoyed, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell right here on this channel, as it will only ever be receiving full stories from the other channel. And if you want to see the videos as they come out, make sure you go check out the Comicstorian main channel, where you get 5 days of videos a week. I'll see you next time.